This is the book of Luke, chapter 21, verse 25, and it reads through the Holy Scriptures. And there shall be signs in the sun. It's Salakia, my apologies. Let me read that again. This is the book of Luke, chapter 21, verse 25, and it reads through the Holy Scriptures. And there shall be signs and suns in the moon and in the stars upon the earth. The scorch of nations for perplexity, and seas and the raised one. And this is the book of 2nd Ezra of the Apocryphal books of the Holy Scriptures, and it reads 2nd Ezra chapter 9, and I'll start at verse 3. It says, "Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars," that's the key word, uproars, and the people in the world. Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'ashem, Makakadash. Shalom to the elders for preaching the word truthfully and sincerity. And shalom to the Akim scattered through the four corners of the globe, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely as well too. And I say shalom to the Akim out there. And this is a sit-down lesson that I want to bring out from RT.com. World News, alternative world news from RT.com as of June the 29th, 2023, and it reads, "Protesters storm Swedish embassy following the Koran burning. The diplomatic mission in Baghdad was briefly overrun by an angry crowd following a protracted demonstration of Swedish capital." And I believe, keep this in mind, I did a sit-down lesson, I would say like day before yesterday over there in Sweden. You have the European administrations that they gave it an okay for protesters to burn the Koran and stuff like that in a protest. And, they gave it an okay. They gave it an okay, And I believe it's going to be a protest happening over there in Sweden. I believe. I forgot what actual date it was, or it had been the protest already started over it, or the protests have started already over there in Sweden. So, I just want to keep that in mind as well too, and add an additional note to that. But continuing on with the reading, it says, "Protesters storm Swedish embassy following the Koran burning. The diplomatic mission in Baghdad was briefly overrun by an angry crowd following a proactive demonstration in Sweden capital. Excuse me about that. It says dozens of people stormed the Swedish embassy to Iraq on Thursday, angry over a Koran burning protest in Stockholm 2 days earlier, staged an amazing celebration of the Islamic holiday of Eid al-Adha, if I pronounced that right. The event has previously been sanctioned by local authorities. The demonstration in Baghdad saw a crowd gather in front of the diplomatic mission following the call for action by the influential Iraqi Sharia cleric Muqtada al-Sadr. The public of the protesters distribute leaflets reading the both Arab and English. "Our Constitution is the Quran. Our leaders is al-Sadr," AFP report citing its photograph at the scene. Those gathered also sprayed paint and inscription reading "Yes to the Quran" on the embassy gates before breaking in and briefly overturning the facility. The crowd and then left peacefully after about 15 minutes as soon as the security forces arrived, according to the AFP. The Swedish foreign minister told broadcasters, the SVT, that the embassy staff were safe and the ministry was in contact with them. The outlet says the diplomatic managed to leave the premises and get to safety. It says on Wednesday, al-Sadr calls for an explosion on the Swedish ambassador, accusing him of representation in a nation hostile to Islam. And that potentially, I'm just saying, that might potentially can cause some more seditions and uprisings between these different nations, I'm just adding a note to that. But continuing on, in supporting the immortality, he demanded that the person beyond the Stockton stunt, who had been identified by Swedish authorities as a Iraqi citizen. Shawam Mokal be stripped of his citizenship and sent to Baghdad for trial. And the chief judge of the Iraqi Supreme Court, Fakhr Zaddan, if I pronounce his name right, has also repeatedly called on Swedish to extradite Mokal. The Iraqi government also condemns the action, calling it racist and saying it promotes violence and hatred. According to the SVT, the burning episode has sparked sharp reactions in Jordan, Iran, Morocco, with the latter even recalling its ambassadors in the wake of the incident. Russia also condemned the Stockholm demonstration. The Russian state declared that Sweden authorities were perfectly aware that allowing the anti-Islamic activists to carry out the Koran burning will lead to a religious and ethical tensions. President Vladimir Putin called it a crime of deliberately to offend religious beliefs. And I'm going to bring out that 2nd Ezra, chapter 15 and verse 16. And this possibly can bring a possible escalations and tensions in these areas where these Ishmaelites are at. And I'm going to start at verse 15. This is 2nd Ezra, chapter 15 and verse 15. For the sword and that destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another with swords in their hands. 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and verse 16, and it reads of the apocryphal books of the Holy Scriptures, and it reads, For there shall be sedition among men, invading one another, and they shall not regard their kings nor their princes. Right, just like those protesters when they sat and stormed the Swedish facility over there in Iraq. It says, For there shall be sedition among men, invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor their princes in the course of their actions and stand in their power. Right, increasing seditions, uprisings, uproars in people's world. As this recent news article says right here, protesters stormed a Swedish embassy following a Koran burning. Right, that can create potential increasing of seditions, uprisings, and uproars, which we are currently seeing in the world today. Just like I brought out that the book of Luke 21 and 25, the distressive nations with perplexities. So with that, hopefully this lesson was edifying of this recent news article and the reading of the Holy Scriptures, and pertains to this news article as well too. So with that, hopefully this lesson was edifying. I would like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Karkadash. Shalom to the elders for preaching the word, truth and sincerity, and shalom to the Akim scattered through 4 corners of the globe, preaching the word, truth and sincerity as well too. And until next time, I will say shalom.